Well, hello. Can you guys see me? Can you guys see me? If you can see me, just give me a thumbs up. Hello, everyone. I'm Sumana Jeddy. I'm so happy. Hello, Cheyenne. So nice to see you. I'm Sumana Jeddy. I'm the founder and CEO of the Workplace Wellness Collective, as well as Jeddy Wellness. I'm so happy to be live. It's been a minute. I haven't done a live for like a couple of months now. I've done a lot of audio lives, but you get to see me here on LinkedIn. And if you are joining us on YouTube, hello, everyone on YouTube as well. I am so pumped up. Today's show is going to be super exciting. I am going to bring up some founders of a really cool company, and we're going to learn about mindfulness, mindset, movement, employee wellness, burnout, stress, all kinds of really wonderful things. But before we do that, I just want to know who is here. Where are you from? Give me a comment and tell me if you're joining us from the United States, you're from Canada, from the globe, wherever you are. Just put your country or city name. Give me a little thumbs up. Give me a little hi emoji. Whatever you want, just put it in the comment. We'll bring that up on screen. And I also want to know from our YouTube audience where you're from. Tell me which city you're joining us from and why you decided to join today's live session. I am really excited to talk about this topic because this is fundamental to Workplace Wellness Collective. If you don't know what Workplace Wellness Collective is, I highly recommend you go to our website and check it out. Hello, Claudia. Nice to see you. We are a wellness hub, and we are super excited to work with companies and support employees as well as employers. The foundation of the Workplace Wellness Collective, we have 4 pillars. We have workplace wellness, mental health, leadership, and culture. And we explore all of these domains through the lens of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Now, I'm someone who burned out many years ago from healthcare. And after burning out, I realized that I didn't want to do that to my health and my wellness anymore. I really suffered a lot being in a toxic workplace. So I decided to create a company and bring people together. Now, remember these words, bringing people together is one of the core missions of the Workplace Wellness Collective. And the company that I'm about to spotlight for you today, they are called Glued. How cool, right? Glued, bringing people together, togetherness, cohesion. We are so excited to really partner with companies that are aligned with our vision and our mission. And this particular company and the co-founders of this company, Corey and Duston, super cool, super amazing. And we just want to learn more about them. I see a lot of comments. Hi, Susan. And Matt, if you don't mind just bringing those comments up on screen as and when they come. Hi, Sumana from Ontario. Hi, Susan. Great to see you. Who else do we have? We have Brianna, who is from nursing. Okay, wonderful. See, there's going to be a lot of healthcare people here because I think we are attracting a lot of healthcare individuals. But maybe also tell me what industry you're from. I want to know where you're from. I want to know your industry. Let's get to know each other. And if you see people in the chat box and you're like, oh my God, I love this person. They're so cool. I like their profile photo. I like their bio. Make a friend today. So those are some of the rules that I'm going to share with you is make a friend today. Make sure you're listening and paying attention and make sure that you're engaging with us because this is going to be a super active and engaging discussion. You are part of the discussion. You're going to help us drive this conversation as well. So if you have a question about any one of those things that I've shared with you, please just put it in the comment box, okay? Now, the first question that I have for you before I bring the founders up is this. Okay, if you're ready, I'm going to tell you the question. And the question is, when I give you these 3 words, mindfulness, movement, and mindset, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? And out of those 3 words, which word is the most important to you right now, today? Okay, mindfulness, mindset, and movement. Those are the 3 words. That's the foundation of the work that Corey and Dustin are doing with their company. So I want to know what's important to you and today and what those words mean to you. Claudia says, I'm a freelance French conference interpreter. A lot of stress involved in my industry. I believe you. That is really hard. Rebecca, hey, Rebecca. She's excited because she is incredibly passionate about mental health as well as mindfulness. Then we have other people here. Meredith Grandi from the Workplace Wellness Collective. She said movement, mindfulness, mindset. Wonderful. This is so great. So while you guys are commenting, let's bring up the co-founders of the company Glued Global Consulting, Corey and Dustin. Let's go. Hello. And I can be in the middle. There you go. Are we good? We're centered.
Hi, everyone.
Hi everyone. Okay, so we're seeing all the comments. What are your thoughts about all the comments you're seeing? So before we even go there, I want to know you, and I want the audience to get to know you. And you, Dustin, you're to my left. Corey Jacobs, you're to my right here. So maybe we'll start with Corey, because let's just go there. Corey,
Okay.
tell me about yourself and tell me why you developed this company. I want to know your story a little bit.
Of course. Thank you, Sumana, for having us. So my story very similar to yours. We've talked a little bit in how you introduced yourself here early on, over a decade ago. After graduating college, I was in healthcare in the sales realm, and I felt very lost. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to work, or what, I'm just doing this because I have to make money. Just felt very lost, very overwhelmed, and thought, is this it? Is this what I'm going to do for the next 50 years? And struggled a lot in my head. A lot of personal relationships just weren't there, and it drove me to make a change. So developing a lot of personal development habits, seeking out coaches and mentors and groups of like-minded individuals like me to learn from and hold me accountable to learn not just personal development things such as start reading instead of watching TV or things like that, but journaling practices, gratitude. And it led me to more of a wellness journey. Yoga, started doing a lot of yoga. I have a sports background, so it wasn't too foreign to me. And it led me into meditation and breath work, reflection. And through that, I was able to be a part of a lot of retreats where I was a student, also eventually becoming a practitioner and teaching. And I've done that around the world. And it led me to realizing there's an opportunity in the workplace, because I started seeing my growth and progressing in my personal life. And I noticed I started showing up a lot better at work and taking it more importantly. My finances were raised, my personal relationships were raised. And what was this attributed to? So it was a lot of my progress in my personal life. Through that, I started something called a 30-day adventure about 4 years ago, three or 4 years ago, where it actually blew up during the pandemic, where virtually I would take individuals and give them a connection to people. Everyone in the group was connected, and we would do one thing uncomfortable every day, and we'd talk about it and share it. Then there'd be a large overarching goal. Through that, it was very successful, of course, because of the pandemic. I've got reached out to quite a bit about, can you provide this for my company? How do you, they were either high up folks in their company or they own businesses. And through that 30-day adventure, we created Glued Global Consulting. And the goal there, just like you said, is to connect people. Studies show if a person has one friend at work, they'll stay longer. And what is a friend? And through these shared unique experiences, we were able to connect people quite a bit.
Love that. And here's something that's really critical that you shared, which as you were speaking, I'm like, this is so important. We are always talking about social isolation and stress and burnout, and we don't talk about how much this has impacted us since the pandemic started, and we're still in it. We're still in it, and a lot of us are still struggling with it. And a lot of us who are working hybrid, which I really want to talk to you, Corey, about this as well. There's a lot of us that are working remotely, and we don't have those friends anymore. We're just on the screen. We were talking about how many screens you have, right? We're
Yeah.
on the screen all the time. We're like, literally, this is our life right now. So that connectivity and really being able to learn those strategies that you teach is so important. And for busy people, and if you guys are watching, now I saw a couple of comments. A lot of people have said mindset. A lot of people said clarity and focus is important, and that's what comes to mind. We've seen some movement here in the chat box. And what else am I seeing here? A lot of those are the words I'm seeing. So that's really cool. Now, another question for the audience. Tell me if you had a work bestie, a work friend at one point in your life, and has that relationship changed for you since if you're working remotely, or if you're not working remotely, also has that relationship changed for you? Because I think a lot of us who were away for a long time in isolation and we've come back to work, I think those collaborations have changed. That social connection isn't as strong as it used to be. So tell me, if there was a work bestie that you were once connected with, has that relationship changed for you? And what are you thinking about it? And what can you do in terms of sort of changing that mindset of yours. Now, I want to hear from Dustin, because I met Dustin for the first time through my favorite Marion Spears-Scar, who, by the way, I think, are you ghosting me? I haven't talked to you in like a hot minute, Marion. So if you're watching, please come and talk to me. We used to do lives together all the time. So I met Dustin first. So I want to know from you, and I loved hearing your story, but I want our audience to hear your story as well, and tell me why you co-partnered with the amazing Corey here.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having us. And thank you to the WWC for getting involved. We're really excited about this partnership and look forward to it in the future. And as you were saying, we want it to be as engaging as possible about the audience. So please comment, ask questions. We'll try to make it as conversational as we can. But yeah, my story, very similar to Corey, a little bit different. Grew up in Ohio, so it was Midwest. A lot of my family's from Georgia. So I ended up going to the University of Georgia. Have to throw out a Go Dogs because we got back-to-back national championships. Just want to throw that out there. I went to school, and then I actually started in the power tool industry. So right out of school, I worked for a company called Milwaukee Tool. If you ever go to Home Depot, there's red drills everywhere. I worked there for almost a decade, actually, and I had a lot of success. I was fortunate that the company was growing fast. I was able to get put in a lot of positions that I probably had no business being in. But I ended up having 7 different roles over that time, and it was an amazing experience. Still a lot of great friends there, and nothing but good things to say. But towards the end of that career, I kind of hit a little bit of a plateau. I was very stressed. I was burnt out. I was working like crazy, and I was kind of like, do I really want to keep climbing the corporate ladder and doing what I'm doing now? So I kind of hit like an ultimatum where I was like, I wanted to change it up, and that kind of honestly started opening me to just getting comfortable being uncomfortable and trying to change things up, which is a theme that we talk about a lot. So I was like, you know what, I want to switch industries. So I kind of grew up in healthcare. My dad's a doctor. My mom's an administrator at a hospital. I have a lot of like cousins that are nurses. So I was like, why don't I try medical device? Because I had some friends that were in there. So I changed it up completely. A lot of people thought I was crazy. They were like, why would you leave Milwaukee and everything was going so well? Why would you change it up? And I felt compelled to do it. And kind of ruffle the feathers a little bit. So I did that back in 2019 and had an amazing experience in medical device and that whole industry, and really kind of saw at the ground level some of the things that were going on and some of the stress and burnout with nurses and other healthcare professionals. And then soon after I changed, the pandemic happened. So talk about getting hit with a brick wall. I was like, man, should I go running back with my tail between my legs and go back to the other industry? Should I stay here? There was a lot of like challenges going on. And that's really where I dove a lot deeper into wellness. Like I've always been very active, worked out a lot. But when all that stuff was happening with the pandemic, I started doing something as simple as a morning routine. And that morning routine kind of compounded into a lot of other things that really helped me from a professional and a personal standpoint. So that morning routine kind of became my rallying cry to try to power through those tough times and the pandemic. And it opened me up to be a lot more kind of investing in myself with whether it be coaches, mentors, doing more mindfulness stuff that I'd never really done before, and really kind of just started my wellness journey, I would say. So that kind of led me to where I'm at now. And then last year was a kind of an interesting year for me. So I had an injury from working out, which pretty normal stuff, right? But unfortunately, that injury turned into 4 surgeries over the past year, which is a long story in between there. But, it was just setback after setback and all these ups and downs. And it was really hard to get through that and still, perform at a high level and, personally and professionally. But honestly, a lot of stuff that we talk about, morning routines, investing in yourself, the mindfulness, like I doubled down on all that the past year. And if I wouldn't have, I don't know where I would have ended up at. So it really helped me kind of get through that challenging time and made me more passionate about what we talk about at Glued. And over that last year, I've known Corey for over a decade. We've been really good friends. We've always worked on different business things together. But over that past year, when I was going through all that, we kind of decided, hey, now's the perfect time for me to go all in, go full time, because we had a lot of momentum and we saw it impact people. And that's sort of what happened. And I think the big thing with Corey and myself is that, we practice this stuff all the time, and it's helped us personally, like with the stories we just mentioned. And it makes it way easier to talk to potential customers or employees because we know it helped us, and I think it can help other people. So that's sort of my background.
I love that, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through all these injuries and surgeries. I mean, the one thing that I also want people to realize as well is that I also went through, an injury, but I didn't want to talk about it. I'm like, oh, there's no reason to talk about it. But the injury was a private injury. It was an emotional injury. And here's what happens when people are burnt out, stressed out, overworked, and they're not paying attention to their body, and they get into this vicious cycle. It's an invisible injury. It's so easy to say, hey, you know what? I hurt my arm, I hurt my shoulder, I hurt my leg. You see someone with a cast, and you're like, can I help you with something? And then there's someone like me, and I'm sure there's a lot of people here. Oh, Marion's here. Hey, Marion, you probably heard my call. There's people who are suffering from burnout, and their injuries are invisible. I remember putting a mask on almost every single day, and I would go to work, and it would just be like me right here. I would just, would be like, hey, Sumana's here. Like, it's super cheery, bubbly. Everything is great. But inside, I was so unwell. I was struggling. It sucked. I hated it. And my behavior changed. My morning routine changed. And the reason it changed is because I wasn't sleeping at all. So I would be up all night, and I would sleep for maybe 3 hours, get up out of bed in a panic, get dressed, and then run to work because, oh my goodness, my boss needs me and I need to be there as a manager to support my team. So what I want to do now for the rest of the conversation is I really want to dive into the three things that we started the conversation with. And let's start with something super basic. Okay. I just want to get to know from the founders of this wonderful company. When you hear the word mindfulness, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Corey, let's start with you, and then Dustin, you can go next. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about mindfulness?
One word: intention. And that's it. I mean, that's what being mindful. There's probably a ton of definitions. There are a ton of definitions. When I was first introduced to mindfulness, I thought it was levitating above the Himalayas and, that kind of mindset there, but it's not. It's living intentionally, doing everything mindfully, and discerning thoughts. So just being very intentional, to sum it up very simply.
Love that. And I think we saw some comments from Susan. She said clarity and focus. So folks, if you're watching, think back to those words I said again earlier. So think back to mindfulness, because we're going to talk about that for the next little bit here. What comes to your mind when we think about mindfulness? Corey said intention. Dustin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, just to add to that, it was something a little more foreign to me until a few years ago, where I would hear things like breath work and meditation and get kind of scared and run away. But I think the reality is there's some very simple things from a breath work and meditation standpoint that can actually help you from a business standpoint and personal. Like, for example, there's some breath work things you can do before a big meeting or before you're going to present, like what we're doing today. So I think of things like that. Also, just investing in yourself in general, I think, is a big theme with mindfulness, and really practicing gratitude. Like gratitude, when I mentioned the surgery stuff, like it's really easy to feel sorry for yourself when you have stuff like that going on. But if you look at it from a gratitude and perspective standpoint, and like, hey, it could be way worse, put yourself in other people's shoes, like gratitude's a huge thing that I think of with mindfulness too.
Oh, I love that. And if there's any comment that you saw and you want to lean into that comment, please feel free to do that. We've had a few here. Stephanie said, you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of the thoughts. I love that. Claudia, you said, for me, mindfulness is about awareness, being aware of the present moment. And then Susan said, the emotional and mental injuries are often the most difficult to recover from and the least acknowledged, which is 100% correct. And Marion Spears Carr, he said, intention is on point. I would also add, it's like you guys know each other so well now. This is incredible.
Yep. Love Marion. Marion's great.
I really like the comment Stephanie mentioned. You are not your thoughts, you're the observer of your thoughts. And that goes back to a lot of lessons I learned very early on and continue to remind myself about. So that's spot on.
And Dustin, do you see any that inspire you?
Yeah, those were all great. I think I would just add the Corey's. I'm not seeing them as real time as you guys, because I don't have two screens. I have one screen. So
I have one screen. It's just in your main screen here on the bottom right hand. I just have one screen too, Dustin. There's on your right hand side of the main screen. There's a private chat and comments. If you just click the comment, you should be able to see all the live comments.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So you can see them.
Appreciate
Yeah. No, don't worry about it.
Here. Thank you.
No, we're not flexing with our three screens here like Corey does. Actually, I have two. I have my phone here too.
And two phones.
I have two phones. By the way, audience members, how many screens do you have in front of you right now? Just as like a random question, how many screens do you have? Do you have one laptop and on one monitor? Do you have two? Do you have three? Maybe just stick a number there. Well, we kind of set the stage for the second part of this conversation, which I really want to dive into, is about mindset. I think mindset is so critical when I talk to companies about or individuals about getting out of burnout. I'm always talking about this idea of mindset because it is, or sometimes it is in your head. You need to get out of your own head and being able to observe your own thoughts and behaviors as almost like an outsider to be like, this isn't Sumana that used to be healthy. This is Sumana that's gotten really sick. And how do we sort of fix that problem? So that really does take a lot of your mindset shift to happen. So what are some strategies that Corey, you teach your clients through your program? And we can talk about that in a moment here, but tell me about mindset and some strategies there.
Yeah, so let's use your example. You put on a mask when you went to work and you were suffering, right? And I think the definition of suffering is just the obsessiveness with our own thoughts. That's a form of suffering, a mental suffering, right? So using that, we have to go through life a lot of times pretending we're perfect. Nothing's wrong. Maybe someone will really see that something's wrong with me. And the truth is, it's okay, completely okay. So, for example, if you're feeling some kind of way towards work, let's say you're anxious for a meeting, let it wash over you. It's the resistance when we try to fight and get rid of those feelings and those emotions that we have. That's when problems arise. Immerse yourself into that emotion, that feeling. And if you don't know what it feels like, you sit with it. Try not to remove it. Maybe that's meditating. Maybe that's talking to someone and being very honest and saying, hey, I'm not perfect. I have a problem. I feel stressed. I'm feeling anxious. Stating it to yourself somehow and then letting it wash over you helps you move through that a little easier. You're not going to get rid of the emotion and those feelings. They're there for a reason. So allowing you to work through that and allowing it to go through you really helps to understand what's the basis of the reason you're feeling that way. So mindset for us, it's a philosophy. It's a way to start your day. It's a way to live your year. A lot of ways we teach about mindset, little small bites, tips, hacks, tricks to make your day a little better. It's not rocket science. It's things maybe we need to be reminded of or refreshed upon. And on top of that, how do you dangle a carrot in front of you? How do you find joy in the day and work towards something? For me, just like everyone, I'm very busy. If I don't have something I'm working towards, something that I enjoy that's outside of work, then I get into that spiral. So I dangle a carrot in front of me every week, every month. That might be a trip. That might be a conversation I'm looking to have. That might be something personal. That might be, hey, I signed up for a meditate. For me, I love meditation and such. So I signed up for this sound bath or this meditation next month. I'm looking forward to it. So we teach strategies around cultivating that into your normal workflow.
Yeah, and here's something really wonderful that I think we all should be learning, because you said something really, really cool, which is when we start to think about workplace wellness or wellness in general, it is an active component. It is not passive. We need to be actively involved. That is by definition, that is wellness in its form. Now, it's not just about one component of your wellness. Earlier this week, or actually last week, we had actually the beginning of the year, we started the conversation about mental health and really recognizing how the stress from your work can seep into all the different domains of your wellness. So if you want to protect and have that mindset of, I want to accomplish these things, you need to think about, you know what? I need to focus on my emotional wellness. I need to think about a trip that's going to help me in my spiritual wellness.
Correct.
I need to do this for my physical wellness. These are all interconnected. And in the center of it all is, and it could vary from person to person, but in the center of it all, I think if I were to paint a picture, it is mental health. I think mental health is right in the middle of it all. It is so important for us. And when we get stressed out, we start to really not pay attention. Now, for me, when I'm stressed out, there's a couple things that, it's like an automatic thing that happens. There's 3 things I do when I get super stressed out. 1, I stop eating. I don't think about food at all. 2, I stop sleeping. I'm like, why do I need to sleep? And 3, I'll start working out really, really hard, because that's the only way I can clear my mind. I'm doing runs, I'm doing lifts, I'm doing all kinds of things to fatigue my body so that I can sleep. So those are the 3 triggers for me that are consistently a pattern that I know my body is telling me I'm really stressed out. So I want to hear from amazing Dustin here. What are your thoughts about the conversation so far, mindset, and any comments that you've seen? The floor is yours.
Yeah, great comments by Corey there. I would say with mindset, just to dive a little bit deeper, some things that we talk about a lot and that we actually practice as well is this idea of like growth versus fixed mindset. That comes up a lot. So fixed mindset, just real high level, is like you kind of think your path is predetermined. You can't have any impact on where you're going. You're usually not open to change. Growth would be you're open to change. You like getting constructive feedback. You think you can change, the path or where your career is going. So we talk a ton about the growth versus fixed mindset. That's a really important thing. And also kind of this idea of abundance where there's enough out there for everybody. So you shouldn't be worrying and comparing yourself to other people. You should focus on yourself and what you can control. And Sumana being successful has nothing to do with me being successful. We can all be successful together. So I love the growth versus fixed mindset, and we go deep with that at times. And also just being open to change. A lot of times people aren't open to change because they have that fixed mindset or they have a different type of mindset. So we talk a lot about getting uncomfortable, being open to change, like doing hard things. That's something that we try to do daily, whether it be something small like 30 seconds of a cold shower at the end of your shower to kind of get you in that going for the day. We talk about a lot of stuff like that. And then also habits. We love habits. I think habits and discipline really are a foundation to a lot of the mindset stuff. So we go in depth into a lot of those topics. So that's what I would add. Otherwise, the comments look great, and I'll try to see if there's any that I can pick out here.
Yeah, I saw one from Meredith that I really loved, where she said, I have read when you do this, which is like the comment that Corey, you made about letting those emotions kind of flow through you versus just keeping them like inside. She said, this, it only remains in your only for 90 seconds. I can't remember the source, but I think that's a really good point. How many of you watching, now you can be honest here. This is a super like honest conversation here. We're all dealing with our own stuff. Okay. So be as honest as you want. But if you don't feel like sharing it on the live, you can send either one of us a DM and we're happy to sort of help you. But tell me if you're the type of person, or do you feel like your emotions are getting stuck and you have that fixed mindset, or are you the type of person that is working towards letting those emotions sort of flow through you and working towards growth mindset? It might be a hard question to answer right now, but think about it. Send Corey a DM, send Dustin a DM, send me a DM. We're happy to help you facilitate that. But it is so important to remind ourselves that we don't want to get in something that's going to not allow us to move. So when I think about mindfulness, it's scary for me. I don't know what it is. I was telling during our pre-live show to these amazing individuals, I said, I get scared of mindfulness. I'm like, my brain's like on all the time, but I've had to train my brain over the last several years after my burnout to quiet it down. And there are some specific things that I will do, like my computer stays here when my work is done. This stuff doesn't go into my bedroom. My devices need to be away from me. I'm not on TikTok when I don't need to be on it. But this is like, I'm actively saying, Sumana, don't do this. This is bad for your mental health. This is not good for your wellness. But that took a lot of training. So I want to talk to Corey here about, let's just go back a little bit, because I think we wanted to touch a little bit on the morning routine. So talk to us a little bit about your morning routine. And I'm going to close these blinds because they're in my eyes.
So I want to make an anecdotal comment as well. There's a quote by Brene Brown, if everyone's familiar with Brene Brown. She says, it takes courage to say yes to rest and play in a culture where exhaustion is seen as a status symbol. So it's certainly very important for you to cultivate the right mindset and the right day, and that speaks to a perfect morning routine. So there's something in common with many of the successful people that we know, whether it's athletes, authors, financiers, whoever they are, and they spend a dedicated amount of time to themselves every day, typically in the morning. That's one common thing they have with each other, which speaks to their success and speaks to their investment in themselves. Doing hard things is how you grow, right? Skate your edge, find that edge and test yourself. 30-second cold shower, like Dustin said, even though there's many benefits to that. Physically feeling something helps your mindset wrap around how to do something, right? So in the morning, that's what I spend my time doing. So my morning routine, I spend about an hour, give or take. I wake up, I drink lemon water right away. I have a lot of plants, so I go and water them if they need it. Then I sit down and I read a couple daily devotionals, three main ones. Daily Laws by Robert Greene, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, and the 365 Tao. And it gets all these different philosophies in my brain for the day, something to think about. And I journal. I set a timer because I can go off on a tangent and data dump, but I set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes and I journal. Sometimes it's by prompts. I've been journaling for years. I have different modalities, but sometimes it's just, I need to just write some things down. Sometimes I write about the journal or the daily devotionals I read. Then I meditate. Sometimes I use a guided meditation. Sometimes I do it myself. Sometimes I just want to listen to the sounds I hear and listen to my breath. Then I typically do a breathing routine that wakes me up or grounds me if I'm feeling anxious. And then I move my body first thing. So it takes about an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm prepared for the day. Now, I used to be very superstitious about it. If I did not do it, my day would go wrong. I had to learn that's also part of my growth, part of the opportunity for me to understand better. But that's typically what my morning routine is.
Love that. Oh my goodness. And so many thoughts going to my mind. I'm seeing so many comments here. Please share your morning routine as well. My morning routine is like the opposite of Corey's morning routine. It's like totally high energy. But yeah, tell me what you're thinking.
So my brain doesn't turn off either.
Okay.
My brain does not turn off, just like yours. Dustin can tell you. It is always running. I have to do these things so that I can be the best person I can for my business partner, the people around me, those I serve. Otherwise, I'm this high intensity person that didn't organize their thoughts in the day. So for me, I found success through it.
Yeah, and that's so important. And if there's anyone, number one, share your morning routine if you feel so. This is a safe place. If you want to share your morning routine, you can. If there's anything that Corey said that inspired you, let us know as well. Meredith commented about play. Stephanie said, moving meditation yoga is an essential part of my process from moving through stuck energy or emotions and getting out of my head and into my body. I think that's really cool. Robin said, I have no choice but to let my emotions flow through me. I am an INFJ and an empath. Yes, that is totally us empaths. We've got stuff to deal with. And Cheyenne said, wow, great routine. These are very helpful. And do you want to put that comment up? There you go. Wow, great routine. These are very helpful. I have done a similar routine off and on for several years. Mine includes a cold shower. Let's talk about cold shower, my friend. Let's dive into that. Yeah.
And I think Dustin's actually doing them a lot more than me now, but cold shower, it does a few things. It's hard. The obstacle is the way. The fear is the way. You want bliss. You want to find out where your growth happens. What are you afraid of? And then go do it, being that it's reasonably safe, right? But like doing a cold shower, it's hard. So you checked a box for the day. You just set a timer. You take your hot shower. It's very easy. You just turn the knob from H to C, and then you just sit under it. And it's pretty simple. And it's hard. And then you feel alive. It just changes you. And there's studies that show cold therapy is needed in our body. We're too comfortable as humans. Hot showers too comfortable. Staying in our bed when our alarm goes off, that's too comfortable. You've got to do these small things every day to keep the growth happening. That's the point of the cold shower mentally, but there's physical benefits. Dustin actually does them a lot now.
Let's hear from Dustin, and please share your morning routine.
Yeah. I'm all about the morning routine. That's like my favorite topic. So I'm loving the chat over here with all the different things. And one thing I would say about the morning routine is like, don't get overwhelmed with Corey and me talking about stuff we do for an hour or 90 minutes. Like when you first start, it literally could be one or two things that you do for 5 minutes, and that could change the trajectory of your day. So when you think of morning routines, don't think it has to be an hour and a half, something like that. And I go back to like my first part of my career. I found myself like waking up and going straight into a stressful meeting. I think Sumana, you mentioned like going straight to work, and that's just like breeding for stress and burnout that whole day. So I found myself going straight into these stressful things. I was like, how can I like take some time for myself? So it was a process over the years that I keep building on. But the first thing I do is I try to get up at the same time without alarm clock and not press snooze, make my bed. So I instantly get like a small win making the bed. It's been a little tougher with my surgery stuff. So it's not like perfect making my bed, but you get a small win out of the gates. And then while I'm getting ready, like brushing my teeth, doing stuff like that, I'll put like motivational speeches on. It could be Tony Robbins, it could be Gary Vee, could be David Goggins, all these different people I listen to. And like, by the end of that, I'm like I'm ready to go run through a brick wall. So that kind of just gets me amped up for the day. And then I will do the cold shower. So the cold shower thing, I also have done a little bit of cold plunges, but it's basically like just doing something hard out of the gates. And I just don't reason with myself. Like I don't let myself think, I just do it. Right. So I just, at the end, I do it for 30 seconds to a minute. And like, it sucks. It's not fun, but I feel great afterwards. And I've already accomplished something hard. So when you hit those challenges in the day, it's much easier when you've already done that. I love to write things down that I'm grateful for. So just anything that pops in my head, it could be, hey, I'm grateful that both my parents are still alive and I can spend time with them, but just something simple you can say out loud or you can write it down. And then I visualize my day. So maybe you have a big meeting or we have an awesome conversation with Sumana in the WWC. Try to visualize that before you do it. It's something that helps me. And then I will do a little bit of meditation as well, something that Corey was talking about. And again, you don't have to be perfect, right? So I think everyone wants to make it an hour long and this crazy thing, and you have to do it every single day. Give yourself a break, right? I try to do it 6 out of 7 days, take a day off on the weekend. But just make sure you don't break the cycle, right? Because if you stop doing it 4 or 5 days in a row, then you're kind of starting that path of never doing it. So just give yourself a break. It can be something small, something simple. Like I hope the audience today just takes 1 or 2 things we've been talking about and maybe start that with their morning routine. That would be a good takeaway for anybody on.
Yay. And audience, if you have any questions, let us know. And if there's anyone from YouTube, I haven't seen any comments. I guess I won't see it here, but is anyone from YouTube watching? Feel free to comment as well. We are just as engaged and excited to talk to you as we are with the folks on LinkedIn. If there's any questions, audience, for Corey or Dustin, please just put it in the comment. I saw some really cool comments here. I did see one from Claudia. Let's put that up here for a second. I felt that when my routine was too fixed, I would get obsessed over it. I try to go with the flow and more connected to my higher self. Sometimes I feel like I need to start the day with a meditation. Sometimes I feel like I need to eat first. So that is a really good point. Okay. We were talking about fixed mindset and growth mindset. That is an example of a growth mindset because you're not forcing yourself to stick to something. You're listening to your body and doing things that make sense. And just because you have an agenda and you're like, I need to do a cold shower, I need to drink my lemon water, I need to meditate, I need to do all of these things and gratitude and affirmations and visualizations, it seems like a lot. And maybe some days you don't have the energy. So I want to shift the conversation here to a little bit more from the employer side of things. Okay. I want to know, because you are in the corporate wellness space. I'm in the corporate wellness space. The WWC is doing the same thing. I want to know what your thoughts are about, and maybe you can add the movement piece of it as well. When employees are going, so I think about the canary in the coal mine. You have this beautiful yellow bird that goes in and then comes out and it's not as healthy as it used to be. There's a lot of us that are doing the same process of going to work and then we come out of the office and we're sick. I don't think I like that idea. I don't think a lot of us who are watching like that idea as well, of employees going to work and work is making them sick. That should not be happening. So what can employers do? And what are you doing with your company, Corey, with Glued, to help employees recognize the importance of employee wellness today in 2023, because we're still pretty stressed out, we're still pretty burnt out, we're not happy.
Yeah, it's common in every industry. So one thing that we do is we just help make wellness simple for leadership. So leaders did not realize that they have all these hats they have to wear when they get into leadership, right? They knew they had to manage people. I think the pandemic exacerbated everything, but they have to manage people's expectations, and it's just another hat they have to wear. So we take on that. We help provide that. So we think that, again, focusing on the person, not the employee. You have a company full of people, and I think we have to dial it back a little better. And we help leadership wrap their head around this. Say, you don't need a healthier employee, you need healthier people. So we take a life coach approach to employees. So most wellness programs out there, tech-based or not, they're self-led. For example, here's a pedometer. the employee that takes the most steps in the next month gets $2,000. Wonderful incentive. You just guaranteed every employee is going to participate. You check that box because that's another challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just guaranteed that participation is there. Two things happen after this. That employee stops taking that amount of steps after that month is over, and there's no behavior change. And it is up to the employee to do it. So we solve for those two pieces. So we create progressive programs and content that slowly integrate new habits into your day. We are about daily consistency, habits you do every day, the smallest of them, things you don't even know you're doing. And we also will hold you accountable. Again, that's the life coach approach. And we kind of take it off the employer's shoulders and work collaboratively with them. And a key to this is we need leadership buy-in. So a lot of times we start these conversations with, tell me about what's your wellness journey? What do you do in your life? And we get a good understanding of where they're at too.
Love that. And what about you, Dustin?
Yeah, I was just going to add, I mean, I think it really, we work with a variety of industries. So we always try to make it about that employer, that leader, and what problems do they care about most. So that's really like what we want to focus on. It tends to be stress and burnout from the pandemic. That's always the top priority. So if we can talk about the M3 method and how that helps stress and burnout, a lot of employees are just very lethargic and apathetic. They're not engaged. I think if you can get them more engaged with workshops or programs that talk about all this stuff, it can help a ton. And then retention, depending on the industry, is really, really tough right now, especially in like healthcare, to keep anybody, but also to keep your good people. So like, how can you do some of these things to really keep people more engaged? And then to Corey's point, I think the leaders, they want to take care of their employees. They want to do it. They want to keep their employees healthy personally and professionally, but they have so much going on. They have budget, they have these deadlines, they have all these things, like they don't have the time or the resources to do that. So, our approach is what Corey was talking about. We try to keep it simple for them and kind of take that off of them and really execute it for them with, a lot of things that we mentioned. So really it's about the employer and that leader and what they care about most. But those ones I mentioned tend to be the most common out there. But I'd love to hear back from the group too, of like, what are the biggest issues with wellness that you're seeing out there? Is it stress, burnout? Is it apathetic employees? Is it retention? I'd love to hear what people are saying too.
Yeah. And I think Susan, if you're watching, hi, Susan, if you're watching, because I know you work with a lot of leaders, and who else do I have here in the audience that I know works with leaders? Let me just quickly, Meredith Grenda, you work with leaders. Actually, Marion Spears Carr, you work with leaders as well. Rebecca, there's some of us here from the Workplace Wellness Collective that are focused on working with leaders. And actually, we just had a live event for Bell Let's Talk Day, which is a mental health day in Canada that's dedicated for mental health. And our focus was leadership. And one of the biggest things that came out of that conversation was how critical it is for the leaders to be involved in this wellness journey for the people. If the leaders are not involved, the employees are not doing anything about it. They want to see leaders take the action. So I'll give you an example. When I was going through my burnout, after I burned out, I went back to work right away because, hey, you know what? I'm feeling better. I thought I was all great and good to go. And I changed my behavior considerably. What I used to do would be to go to my corporate office. I was a manager there. I would, have my lunch at my desk, because why not? I can just have my lunch at my desk and like take off, multitask. And I think Susan said multitasking sucks. It is actually very real, but I would multitask, take some phone calls. I'm emailing, I'm eating my lunch. The whole thing sucked. But what I started to realize was that I should not be doing this. So when I came back to work after my burnout, I decided to like literally book that lunch hour off in my calendar. And I actually physically left the building. I'm like, I don't care if it's minus 32 degrees outside or if it's like raining, snowing, hailing. I don't care. I am out of the office and I'm going to take care of my mental health and recover and rest and digest so that I can start my second half of the day feeling rejuvenated. But that shift happened. And actually my staff was like, oh, Sumana is not at her desk during lunch hour. Like, that's very weird. The first couple of weeks was a bit of adjustment. And then they were like, yeah, Sumana is not here during lunch hour. And if a meeting started at 1 o'clock, I would tell people like, listen, it starts at 1 p.m. I may be a few minutes late because my lunch hour is at till 1 o'clock and I still have to go back to work. So people were respecting the boundaries that I have created, and the shift in my mindset and my process had changed as well. So a couple of comments. Let's see if I saw some here. Marian said the approach of incremental improvement that creates sustainable. Where's the comment? Sustainable. Wait, I lost that comment. There you go. Sustainable and repeatable behavior changes is outstanding. So we just have a few more minutes here, so I just want to wrap up this discussion super quickly. But I want to hear from Corey here. What are your thoughts on corporate wellness and the role of leadership? And when you guys go and teach organizations, are you seeing resistance from leaders, or are they leaning in to support employee wellness? What are you seeing in today's world?
Yeah, and it's a great topic. So we typically see leadership very interested in understand. They're almost on the same wavelength as perhaps the employees, not really sure how to navigate it. What is it? It's so ambiguous. How does it fit my operations? You know, what we deliver, our content is our content. Our programs are our programs. How do we fit it into each individual company's operations? So we don't see pushback. We see more they're not knowledgeable about how to deliver it to the employees. How does this happen? They're used to self-led programs. They're not sure what they're looking for. They're like, yes, let me do wellness. I want to make sure my employees are healthy. They may have a stigma towards physical fitness most of the time, which we do have, but it's about the mental health side of things. So we definitely see shifts happen when we talk to companies, and maybe even with leadership, whether they're participating or not, they start buying in.
I love that. And here's the key. If anyone, and Felipe is here, and his company, Signal Financial Company, Signal Financial Corporation, I don't know what his company name is. Signal Financial, perhaps that's the one. But that company, every time I look at that company, I'm like, you guys are thinking about wellness in the right approach. It does start from leaders, and it also starts from us teaching leaders, because maybe they've got too much going on and they're like, I don't even know where to start. So that learning and development component is also a big part of the Workplace Wellness Collective, where we are going to bring people like Corey and Duston and other leaders here, other founders, other companies, other wellness initiators to your front and center, so that you can learn these strategies, but also then feel like I am ready to take that next step and, work with Corey, work with Duston, and get those ideas to get my company back up and my people feeling well. I love that. People, not employees. That's going to stick in my head today for sure. Any thoughts from you, Duston?
Yeah, I think Marian had a question there about if there's pushback from leaders as well. I mean, I think in general, everyone's very receptive to these ideas. So people want to have the conversation. Do they actually implement anything? That's another story. But I think sometimes maybe you have to tie it into like the business side of it, to Marian's question. So, what do they care about most? Is it retention? Is it engagement? Like, how is this going to help from a business side? So I think when you talk about wellness, sometimes people can just think of like, oh, you just want to come in and do yoga or something. Yeah. And like, yeah, that can be great, right? But no, it's much more than that on the mental side and like the movement, mindset, mindfulness. So we try to like tie it in from a business case with those leaders, and that usually gets them more involved. And a lot of times, actually, recently, we've had a lot of leaders come to us and like, hey, do you do anything just for leaders? Because we do it for leaders and employees, but we've actually had a lot more feedback from leaders, because I think, there's so much on the leaders' plate, because they're constantly taking care of other people, their employees. They don't have time for themselves. So we've actually had more leaders reach out to us recently, like that they want to go deeper on like the leadership side. So that I just wanted to answer Marian's question. So
yeah, and that's super important, I think, and I 100% agree with that. Being someone in that leadership position, we have our own set of challenges, and I know there's people here. Rebecca works with leaders as well, and we talk about sustainable wellness to leaders. And my challenges are different, because I'm taking care of myself, I'm taking care of my team, and then I've also had to take care of my boss and his needs. So we saw this, I don't know if there was a post on Bloomberg or on Harvard Business Review about how middle managers are the ones that are really suffering right now, is because middle managers have no resources. We're having to deal with all of these changes of how do I be a great manager? How do I support hybrid employees? How do I do orientation for new employees while I take care of my own wellness? So middle managers, if there's any middle managers here, I feel you. We've suffered. It sucks. So we just wanted to point that out, and also wanted to bring up the question from the comment from Felipe, because he is so good at that. He said, leaders need to lead by example, show them how to be able to be successful while navigating their mental health. Being vulnerable as a leader can be super powerful. It's not about physical fitness. It's also about physical, mental, and financial wellness. Yes. So I want to wrap this up by talking about vulnerability. And I know we started the conversation a little bit about, Corey, you were very vulnerable. Dustin, you've been vulnerable as well. So tell me how we can incorporate something like Glued and have those vulnerable conversation with leaders and employees so that we can make wellness successful for them. What's the one thing that comes to your mind when I'm like, we need to be open towards being vulnerable to our employees? How do we do that?
I think, again, it goes back to ensuring that, of course we can tie it back to the business, but ensuring that leadership understands you're a person too. It goes back to people, not employees, people, not leaders. You want to be effective in all aspects of your life. Do you know what it's like to progress personally? Progress equals happiness. Simple as that. When you feel progressive at home, insert any title, middle manager, leader, employee, you're going to show up every aspect better. When you start feeling progressive because of a program the company you work for gave that to you, there's a lot of loyalty created and a lot of ROI behind that is able to showcase.
Perfect. And what are your thoughts, Dustin?
Yeah, no, I just to second that, I think if you actually talk to your employees and the mid-level managers, like they want more of this type of stuff. It might be a little taboo, or there might be a stigma behind it. We see that a lot on the male side. Like we've had a lot of people reach out to us and be like, love what you're doing, talking about it from a male side. So I feel like, people want this. You just have to kind of get it out of them and kind of just, break the seal and start doing it. And if you want to keep people around, especially with the economy, everything going on right now, I think you should be doubling down on stuff like this, versus other things. So just because the economy and the recession doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing this. You probably should be focusing on it more, quite frankly, if you want to keep progressing as a person and as a company. So.
Love that. Now, audience, I saw a really great comment here from, was it Stephanie? And she said, be okay with talking about the messy middle. I think I've heard that from Meredith when she talks about improv. There's a messy middle part of it. Maybe we're in it right now. I don't know when the messy middle is happening. I feel like since the pandemic started, we're like in the messy middle of this whole thing. One final question for the audience is, should I bring these two back up and do another live? Give me a hell yeah if we should bring them back up and talk more about this, because I am loving this conversation. I can't believe it's like almost 52 minutes into this. Final thoughts. How can Glued Global Consulting, how can that company help employers and employees? Give me your elevator pitch.
So we make wellness simple. We focus on you as a person. We help with stress and burnout. We improve overall daily health, and we create a culture of health, which essentially equates to better retention.
Perfect. Anything you want to add? What's your elevator pitch?
That was perfect, but I would say we work with really any industry. We've had a lot of success with healthcare, sales professionals, HR leadership, but we've worked in industrial, we've worked in tech, SaaS, healthcare. So it's really applicable to anywhere. So no matter where you're at in your career, what type of industry, we can help you out just based off our experience. So that's the only thing I would add. Otherwise, Corey said it perfectly.
Perfect. And how can people reach you? Your website is?
Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, website globalconsulting.com. And then you can definitely shoot me a message on LinkedIn, or Corey as well. We're on LinkedIn all the time, so that's probably the easiest. And then our email is in LinkedIn and on our website as well to set up time with us.
Wonderful. And any last thoughts before we wrap this up? Any shout outs you want to give to the comments, to the users who've been engaged? By the way, I will be going back later today, and I will comment and reply to as many people as I can. And I think Corey and Dustin will do the same thing. We'll reply to comments and we'll keep the conversation going. It looks like a lot of people are saying, hell yeah, bring these two back. So I guess we're going to have to do a part 2.
We'd love to. can go deeper into any topic here. I just want to say thank you to you, Sumana, and Workplace Wellness, and amazing participation. So lots of ideas and helped us with our conversation. So thank you to everyone that's listening.
Yay.
Yep. And then shout out to Marion for originally connecting us. So I appreciate that, Marion, and the rest of the WWC team was awesome. And thank you so much for all the engagement and the questions. We will definitely follow up after this and reply back to anything we missed. And we'd love to come back for round 2.
Yeah.
Love it. And Marion Spears-Carr, if you're listening, we need to do a live together. We haven't done in a hot minute. So let's get that ball rolling. And I just think we should wrap this up. Thank you so much, Dustin and Corey. This has been such a pleasure. And audience, you guys have been so great. I mean, I loved all the comments and the conversations that's been going on. And I hope you learned something. I hope you got something out of that morning routine piece. I hope you understood why mindfulness is important. We didn't talk about movement, but physical wellness is so critical. You can ask questions in the comment as well. Both of these amazing human beings are going to reply to those comments and be in touch with you. If you made a friend, please to say hey to them. And if you want to watch the replay, it will be on LinkedIn. It'll also be on YouTube. I think the YouTube replay is a little bit easier to watch. Sometimes I find the LinkedIn replay a little bit awkward, but whatever you want to do, you can do that. Everything is here for you. And if you want to connect with me or any of the members of the Workplace Wellness Collective, I see a few in the chat box, Felipe, Meredith, Marion, Rebecca, any one of us, we're happy to help support you and your business. I'm excited to maybe bring them back for another part 2. For now, we are going to say goodbye and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.